In the past couple years, Albania has really taken off as a European travel destination. People have been comparing it to the old Croatia and saying it's such a cheap way to travel. So I tested it out. I just got back from 7 days in Albania, traveling from the coast all the way to Tirana, the capital, and I'm gonna break down in this video exactly how much I spent on food, accommodation, any extra expenses, and all the activities we did. So you get a little bit of context about what type of traveler I am and how much I'm spending. I would say I'm in that mid-range. I'm not super budget where I'm staying in hostels and eating street food every day, going to the grocery store and not paying for any activities. But I'm also not on the super luxurious side yet, where I'm spending thousands of dollars on an accommodation and taking private taxis. I'm definitely in that mid-range. I stayed at Airbnbs, which I found to be great in Albania. So I had private accommodations. I would eat out every meal, sometimes street food, but always a sit-down restaurant, and I still was able to do all the activities that I wanted to try in a week. I also traveled with my boyfriend. I wasn't a solo traveler, so I will be dividing the costs by two because everything that we purchased, including food and activities, was right around the same price for both of us. So I just split the costs by two. Just so you know, the type of currency that's used in all of Albania is called Albanian lek, which approximately means that €1 is equivalent to 100 lek. But we found that in all of Albania, they also took euro for pretty much close to the exchange rate. So that's what we use for the majority of our purchases. So I'll be breaking down the prices in both euros because that's what we use, and also translating it to Canadian dollars. I'm going to start off with the most expensive category that we spent, and we're going to work ourselves down to the least expensive. So the most expensive category of the 7-day itinerary was actually food, which was really surprising to me. So for the whole week, we spent €141 a person, which translates to $226.71 Canadian for the week, which actually I think is pretty good considering we ate out for lunch and dinner every single night and got a little breakfast pastry usually in the mornings as well, and sometimes a gelato treat after. I've heard mixed reviews about the food in Albania, so I wasn't sure what to expect, but it was honestly really good. As soon as we got to Sarandë, which was our first stop, we sat down at this little restaurant and both got seafood linguine that was €10 each, and the wine was €2. It was already a great start. The first night we had gelato. We had a scoop each, and it was €150 per person. And in this budget included all the food and drink we had. We went out for drinks and we each got a drink on this nice, beautiful balcony in Sarandë, and we watched the fireworks from there. And it was €8 per drink, which is a little bit pricey, but when you're going to other places in Europe, it was nothing compared to Barcelona. The next 4 nights were in Himare. This was my favorite dinner spot. It was recommended by one of the locals at our Airbnb. We came back here 2 nights in a row. It was €12 for this lamb. I forget the name of it, but it comes in a wax paper, so it kind of reminds me of like a seafood boil. It was so good. Food was very similar to Greek food, honestly, because we were so close to Greece, but it was really good. Here it was, I don't think we paid more than €30 or like $50 Canadian for a dinner, which was amazing. We did go out for breakfast at this place called Acta for one day, but the rest of the breakfast we just had bakeries. But the one morning we did have a breakfast. It cost us €10 for both of us, so €5 each, or $7.50 Canadian. This restaurant was actually probably one of our least favorite restaurants in all of Albania, but the view was worth it. When we did get to Tirana, which is the capital city, there were so many food options that you could choose to dine and go to a little bit of a more expensive and fancier place, but there also was, just in any big city, a lot of cheap recommendations too. One night we got home super late. We went on a day trip and we got a pizza for 150 lek or €150. We ate really well for, I would say, a pretty good price. Second most expensive category was our accommodation, which makes sense. Per person, we spent €101.50, which translates to $163 Canadian for all 7 nights. in Albania. And I think this is what probably draws people to Albania, is the accommodation was super, super cheap. In Sarandë, which is known as the party town, it was $90 Canadian for our one night stay. Again, this was all Airbnbs, so we paid in Canadian. We didn't even pay in euros. We had a kitchen, a full kitchen, another bedroom, and a balcony. It was really nice. It was right by the boardwalk or the beach promenade. For our 3 nights in Himare, it was $171 each, and it was beautiful. This was our favorite hotel or accommodation in all of our Europe stay. We had the most beautiful balcony and view from our Airbnb. It was an Albanian couple that lived on the house beside us, and then it was kind of like apartment style where there was a bunch of different Airbnb guests in different rooms, but it was so quiet. Our room was nice, and they were the best hosts we've probably had. 4-minute walk from the beach. It was crazy. And then our last stay was the cheapest. It is so cheap to stay in Tirana. If you look on Airbnb, for 3 nights, it was $65 Canadian per person, which is crazy. There's not really main city center, but we were right near the pyramid of Tirana. We were right near some major attractions that we wanted to see. And we had Netflix. So this was our only accommodation that had Netflix. But I'll link all our accommodations below too if that's something you're interested in checking out. The next expensive category was our activities, which we could have even done for a little bit cheaper. Per person, we spent €82.50 on activities for the week, or $132 Canadian each for the week. Now take in mind, this also includes a full day trip that we did to North Macedonia and back from Tirana, and that was $62 Canadian each. So if we didn't do that, it would have only been $70 Canadian each for the whole week of activities. That's because there's a lot of free things to do in Albania. The first thing we did that cost us €30 each was a 3-hour boat trip in Himare. You can take these trips on Get Your Guide, or even if you just Google it, on the coast of Albania, and they do them from Sarandë, Himare, Vlore, wherever you're staying. So this was €30. I think we would have loved it, but the day we went, it was so choppy that we were scared for our life. But the views and the beaches they take you to are beautiful, and they let you stop and swim. So make sure it's a calm day, and then it would have been worth our money. We also rented a chair. On the first day, we just laid on the rocks because we thought it was going to be so expensive to rent a chair. On the second day we went to the beach, we went to look at the chair rentals, and it was only €5 with a chair and an umbrella per person for the entire day, and it was a beautiful beach. And the other thing we did other than our day trip was in Tirana, we went to Bunked 2, which is a museum. There's so many bunkers in Tirana, and it takes you underground. It was pretty cool. It was €9. I'm happy we did it. It wasn't the most exciting thing, but it was really cool to go inside a bunker. In Tirana, there's a lot of things to do for free too. There's art exhibits around the whole city, and that's I think why I really loved it. We would just be walking down a street, and then there'd be beautiful art when we turned the corner. Our final expense was transportation. So I didn't include the plane ticket because we were already in Europe. Per person, it cost us €58 for the week, or $94 Canadian. Keep in mind, this doesn't include our flight from Canada to Albania, but that's because we did other traveling prior. And this really varies depending on if you're already live in Europe or if you're in North America. But just so you know, our flights cost us from Barcelona and back $640 Canadian. So we got a really good deal. To get into Albania, we took the ferry from Corfu, which is a super popular way to get here, and I really recommend it. It was so nice. It was a 45-minute to an hour ferry ride, and it cost us €30 each, or $50 Canadian. That takes you right into Sarandë, which we stayed for a night. Then we took the bus from Sarandë to Himare, which was €8 a person, or about $11 Canadian. And then finally we took a 5-hour bus from Himare to Tirana, which cost us €15 a person, or $22 Canadian. We also did take a bus that takes you from the city center of Tirana right to the airport, which is half an hour away, for €4. And if you do need to take the city bus, we ended up hopping on it once just to try it out. It is so cheap. It was 40 cents. So that's always an option too. So with all of those expenses together, that made our 7-day trip in Albania cost a total of $615 Canadian per person, or 383 euros per person. So I would agree, Albania is still on the cheaper side of Europe. We really loved it, but it was super cute, not super crowded, and the people were so nice. Personally, I thought it was a really affordable and good price in Albania, but I want to know, would you spend a week in Albania for this price? Do you think it was a good price? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more of Albania day by day, you can check out my other videos. I have a vlog of Sarandë and Himare, and also our time in Tirana. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.